and welcome to a very special 10 Reasons Why show with me, Scott Tomaso. Now, over the past few months, we've received a lot of inquiries, a lot of questions about how to break into the entertainment industry. Now, I've been in the industry for roughly about 12 years, and let me tell you, there is no set way to do it. It's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of networking, and it's a lot of patience. However, there are some helpful tools and tips that will help you get a head start over your competitors. So since we've gotten so many questions and inquiries about how to break into the industry, I thought I would check in with one of my favorite, most successful resources. Now, this is a woman who's done everything from PA work to running the entire shindig. So not only does she know what she's talking about, you should definitely listen. This is my interview with Jessica Driscoll. Check it out. Hello everyone, and welcome to a 10 Reasons Why show special. I am joined today by Jessica Driscoll, who has been in the entertainment industry for, what, 17, 20, 30-ish? And she's done everything from production assistant to running the whole darn thing. So we're lucky to have her today. She's gonna talk about, or we're gonna talk about, the whole production cycle. Basically, what everybody does. Because we've had a lot of people, we've put some videos up where a lot of people are asking, I want to be in the industry, what does a producer do? It's either reality or scripted. We'll talk about scripted because you've done a lot of scripted as well, but you've done a lot of reality, so yeah. I mean, you've done literally everything. So let's talk about, the reason you're here is we want to talk about, like, if someone wants to get into the industry, more than likely, how would they get in? Where would they start, and what are the levels that you can work towards to get to someone as important as yourself?
You're too kind, Mr. Tomaso. I think everyone should start out as a PA.
Right, which is what I did. Yeah, like you did.
I did.
Where was it?
In Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, nice.
At the only film studio called New Millennium Studios.
Very nice.
And so they were doing like music videos and feature films, and that's really how I got into it. Was starting out as a PA working like the local circuit.
Right.
And then...
Did you know you wanted to get into that though? Was that something you always wanted to do? Entertainment? Or did that just happen?
It's kind of funny. I was going to school to become an actor. But quickly...
I know the feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But quickly realized that, to be an actor takes a special person. And I am not that special person. So I knew that to be powerful, you had to be extremely creative or you had to be behind the money.
Right.
And to me, being behind the money was it.
Sounds nice.
It's so tough, but that's the road I decided to go.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's a no-fail, that's foolproof.
Right.
Not as I found out to be the truth, but that's how I decided to go.
So when you started out, so you started as a PA, you said. Mm-hmm. How long were you in Richmond before you moved elsewhere?
2 years.
2 years in Richmond.
But I was a PA, then I was a production secretary on a couple of films.
Right.
Then I was a production coordinator when I moved out here.
Right. Got it. So you moved straight from there to here.
Mm-hmm.
Decided LA's got to be the place to be. Yeah. Makes sense. So what did you do when you started out here then?
I worked at a management firm.
So you stuck with it. I mean, you stayed in the industry and
I did
it that way.
For $500 a week, by the way.
Wow.
But I think I think when you start at the bottom, you really start. It's really the bottom. It's not my perception of the bottom. My paycheck proves I was at the bottom.
I was making $10 an hour at my first job.
There you
PA
go.
job. First PA job was $10 an hour.
Wow.
It was very sad. I had to work overtime to actually pay my rent.
They paid you overtime?
They did.
That's
they did.
crazy.
I got so lucky.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't usually happen.
It doesn't, and that's unfortunate.
All right, so PAs. We both started as PAs.
Yeah.
So.
And there's set PA and office PA.
Right, so I was just going to ask,
different.
So what do you do? Let's talk about, so let's say a scripted show that you're working on. So you come in as a PA, what's a PA do? What is their responsibility for the most part, generally?
It's interesting, this whole reality versus scripted thing, because I think as a producer, the heavy lifting is the same.
Right.
It's just the workflow that you have to manage that's different. Right. So as a PA, whether it's, I think for any format, whether it's long form, short form, scripted, reality, documentary, you're there to do whatever needs to be done. You're like the catch-all.
Right.
But people think it's a crap job because you put in long hours, you don't get paid overtime sometimes, you drive around a lot, you're doing things like picking up tea, and you're like, why am I doing this? But the whole, it's
sorry,
true.
bad memories just flew back. I'm sorry, good memories just flew back.
But it's also where like you learn how to form relationships.
Yeah.
And you get to be exposed to what every single department does. So I think it's a really important place for anybody to start is as a PA because you get exposed to literally every department.
Yeah. So where do you move? So again, I don't know if it's different in scripted or if it is as it is in reality, but what's the next move up? So you've done your PA work, you've done a lot of it. You want to move on to that next level. What is that next level?
I think it's important to know which direction you want to go. So, quick throwback to the money.
Yeah.
That's the production management side of things, where it's like the line producer, production manager, coordinator, like the logistics side, managing the workflow and paperwork and contracts and everything. Or there's the creative side.
Right.
And so you have to kind of figure out early on which route you want to go.
Right.
I mean, it's never too late to change your mind, but it's important to know which path you want to go because where you go from a PA, whether you want to go production management or creative, they're very different.
I'm gonna go reevaluate my life right now. We're gonna cut. So let's just take for example. So you've been working on some stuff, but so say it's scripted. Say your last scripted project you worked on. What kind of roles did you have in that production? Starting from the PA on up.
There was a PA. Wow, well, there's a lot of different departments.
Sure.
So there's the casting department.
Right.
There's the art department.
Right.
There's the camera department, grip department, lighting department. Then there's the production unit, which is what I manage.
Right.
Overall.
You do everything.
I do everything.
You handle everything.
But the production department consisted of a production coordinator, assistant production coordinator, 2 office PAs, production supervisor, line producer, and then producer.
Right.
In no particular order.
So how big of a production was that? Sounds like a fairly decent sized production.
It was a pretty big production.
That sounds like it. And you've done reality as well.
Yes.
So is there a big difference in the departments that are in there? Is it pretty much the same thing? You've got your art, you've got your grip.
It's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same, but what I have found in reality is that there are some departments that you don't need. If it's a game-oriented show, like where there's challenges and there's a prize at the end, you definitely need something like the art department.
Right.
But if it's sort of documentary style and you're following people in their day-to-day lives and it's story-driven, you generally won't have an art department.
Right.
So it depends on the format, depends on how many of these departments you actually need. But anytime you turn a light on that requires a cable, you got G&E. You know, you have to have a camera operator, you gotta have a DP.
Genie's the
grip and electric.
Right, and that's the big generator that's gonna be
Or a small generator.
something to make stuff happen.
Something to
turn on.
Make power.
Another question we get a lot is what would you recommend for somebody who wants to get into the business? Is it going? Obviously, you want to go to school. I don't know. That's necessarily true.
I don't
But
think it is.
because I've heard experience is actually way more important than schooling.
For sure. I did not throwback. I went to school to become an actor.
Right.
I'm a producer.
But at least it's in the same, arena.
No.
I mean, it's still film. You're still.
I was a theater actor.
Oh, you were a theater actor.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious, learning all kinds of things today. So yes, and I'm the same way. I went to school for something completely different. I went for computer science. So getting into a creative style thing is a little weird. And I was gonna go to school myself to do, not acting, but film and broadcast. And I was actually musical. And I was told not to.
Yeah.
I was told don't waste your time.
That is
to work instead.
That is what I think. I think there's, without a doubt, when you go to school, you get an education, whatever your field is. That's a given. But I think as far as experience and how this business works, your degree doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter who you are. It's who you know and what you do.
Right.
So my best advice to anyone who wants to get into the industry is start out as a PA. Don't have an attitude about it. Be humble, be willing to learn, and just go do it.
Is there an age limit where you would say you probably shouldn't do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're talking long hours here. It really is long hours.
Really long hours.
We're talking 15, 16, 17. I've spent the night at places before.
Yeah, and by the way, that's illegal. I think technically. I think one of the best things about this industry, it gets a bad rap, but it's never too late to reinvent yourself, and it's a very forgiving industry.
Right.
So I think it's never too late to go do what you want to do, but I would say if you are of a certain age, you don't want to go start out as a PA.
Right. It's tough.
It's tough.
It's brutal. Or if you have kids, at that point you may have kids and a family.
Right.
That's just really tough.
But I think those are things that you just have to juggle. But as far as like who's going to accept you or not accept you as being a PA at a certain age, I think it all depends on your attitude.
Do you have a preference? For reality versus scripted versus something else, or do you really care? Or what are the major differences as far as working in that type of environment?
It's just, this is my experience only, and I think that's the great thing about our industry is everyone has different experiences. So I can just say from my own experience, scripted is far more organized because it has to be.
Right.
When you're doing script revisions, there is a certain color order that everyone recognizes as industry standard. So if you're looking at the blue revision of a script, for example, that's the first revision.
Right.
And there's definitely most scripted shows are run in the same manner. Because they have to be.
Right.
Because it's imperative if you're shooting out of order, for example, that when you're showing up, no matter what department you're in, you know exactly what scenes are being shot that day.
Right.
In reality, it's scripted in a different way, for the most part. Cat's out of the bag on that one. It's scripted in a different way, in a more creative way. The producers are trying to get a different result. The interviews that the story producers do, for example. You're trying to elicit certain reactions from the people on the show, for example.
Which is a tough thing to do, especially I've had a lot of people
tough.
who have been crushed by the fact that we're talking about people I know in Middle America who had no idea that reality was not reality, and it is to a certain extent, but not really, because there are also people who have won awards for writing reality shows.
Yeah, I think reality TV gets a bad rap, but I just want to insert real quick off topic. When Blair Witch came out talking about reality, I was so scared. I thought that was for realsies. Okay? So I'm with people in Middle America that are crushed when they find out, like, what do you mean? That's not real.
Yeah.
But it's tough. I think
it's entertainment still.
It's entertainment, but what I find, just my opinion, about reality TV is I think that it's going in a direction that's really not cool. I've known people that have left shows because the idea, it sort of becomes mean-spirited. Not every reality show is that way, but it certainly seems like that's what people are competing against.
Right. Or
certain reactions or story beats or points that are more mean-spirited.
So let's talk about the difference between an office PA and set PA, because a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, want to figure out what's the best way to get in. So there's two different kinds, as you mentioned earlier. What are the differences?
So when you're working in the office, it sounds like an office job, and it kind of is, but not in a traditional sense by any means. The office is the hub through which all things are distributed, all information goes. If you need to know anything, you're going to the production office. So an office PA, typically, whether it's scripted or reality, you're going to be doing a lot of office work, whether it's filing, picking up lunches, running errands, coordinating equipment orders for set, distributing call sheets, production reports, working with accounting. You're doing a lot of the paperwork.
Right.
And it's also important, I think if you're an office PA, it's not just a job. If you're an office PA, read everything that you're distributing and understand the process that you're actually participating in. You're not really a dancing monkey.
That's good advice, actually.
I think that's probably how people quickly advance, is when you participate in the process and you're not just like, I'm just going to get coffee. Well, you are going to get coffee, but figure out the quickest way to get there.
Right.
Figure out what people want. Figure out the most efficient way to do it. Put names on coffee. That's a good one, because people that participate in this move ahead a lot quicker.
Right.
The set PA is a little, that's where if you want to go in the direction of being in the grip department, electric department, art department, camera department, wardrobe, hair, makeup, anything that's going to be on camera is on the set.
Right.
And those PAs do anything from locking down the set, which means you got to make sure, traffic isn't
People
coming
are
through.
walking through, and
People aren't talking. Walkie distribution. It's a lot of standing around and waiting. But if you're standing around waiting, at least stand around and learn.
Yeah.
Talk to people in the different departments. Learn. You'll get exposure to how all the different departments work together, and why one department is there on set an hour before another one.
Yeah.
So it's great exposure to a bunch of different things at one time. But it's just different than working in the office.
It is.
A producer is a nebulous title.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a line producer, I'm an executive in charge of production.
Right.
It's a very specific, but producer generally can be, an associate producer on one project is likely to have different responsibilities than from your show to my show.
Right.
It just depends on the expectations that everyone at the top has to manage.
And this is why everybody goes, what the hell is a producer?
It's a lot of
Because
things.
nobody really knows. They're right, there's no specific thing. It could be anything. It could be a lot of different things.
It could be, and sometimes, honestly, straight up, it could also be a gratuitous title.
That's true.
And that's where it gets dangerous, because sometimes you're like, oh, that person is an executive producer, but that person may have simply been someone's assistant who was promised something at some point.
Yep.
So there's a lot of that too.
What is it? So an executive producer, for example, when you get to that level for a film, because I always equated it to that's the financial dude, the guy who's in charge of getting a lot, or the person that maybe put up the most money, or something.
It can definitely be more of a fiduciary situation.
Yes.
But in film, having the title of produced by is the coveted.
Right.
That's really, in film, it's more the creative driving force is the more, not honored title, but it's more sought after. You want to be the person who is that's your creative vision.
Right. So you would rather be. It's more important.
I would always
or
rather
more coveted to be a producer than, say, like an executive producer, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's good news.
That's been my experience. My suggestion would be to go to, there are some great websites that are full of resources that always have PA listings.
Right.
So, or if you already know you want to be a wardrobe designer, or a costume designer rather, or you want to be a makeup artist or a hair artist, go seek out on the internet films in your area, commercials, even if it's local, just get the experience of starting out in the department that you want to as a PA. There's websites that are subscription based. I have found, it's been my experience, a lot of the websites have the same job postings. So I would say if you are on a subscription based website like entertainmentcareers.net, for example, just have one or two subscriptions. I wouldn't go overboard and join all of them.
Right.
But there's some great resources out there: Media Match, entertainmentcareers.net, Glassdoor, Indeed. Staff Me Up is a great one.
Yeah. And LinkedIn is obviously fantastic.
LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn, and if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I think that's a great place to, start managing your social media presence.
Totally agree.
One last bit of advice for anyone breaking into this industry: it's always best to keep your eye on the prize. And if politics exist everywhere. Just show up, keep your mouth shut, and do the job. And you'll stay out of trouble. I speak from experience.
Yes. Well, because I think a lot of people get flustered right away too. I think the other thing I would always say, and I ran into this too when I first came out. It's easy sometimes to get frustrated with maybe you want to take that next step, but maybe that's something you're not getting your shot or whatever. I think you just have to stick with it, and networking is the biggest way to make that next step.
And networking is really just a fancy way of saying making friends.
Yeah, just talk to people.
Just talk to people, be yourself, be friendly, be a hard worker. But I think people get frustrated also because it's like, why am I really 4th time getting coffee today? I was just there. Why am I turning back around? I mean, totally legit, but it's like you just have to, that's why I say keep your eye on the prize. That's all you're doing for that day.
Absolutely, and those people that you're working for then are probably people you're going to work with for a very long time, somewhere down the future, or
Absolutely.
You keep working with them, and they do keep people on that they trust and that people who do the job correctly. So those are the people that you want to be.
And people that stay out of drama and don't complain.
Yes.
And those are the people that get hired.
Yep, I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining. This is fantastic. Great information for our viewers. And if you guys have any questions or any comments, certainly comments, let us know on www.10reasonswhyshow.com. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you again.
Well, there you have it, a lot of helpful tools and tips that you can use if you're trying to break into the industry. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to contact us at www.10reasonswhyshow.com if you're not already there, and let us know what you think. You can also find us on Twitter at 10 Reasons Show, and also on Facebook, just search for 10 Reasons Why Show. So until next time, I'm Scott Tommaso, and remember, every minute you postpone your dreams is another 60 seconds lost of happiness.